Hey writers, today we're going to talk about ways to structure our memoirs. You've been generating ideas for your memoir process piece over the past few weeks in your digital writer's notebook. Last week, you tried to find and grow a seed idea by rereading past entries and identifying a common theme or issue throughout. I was really impressed at the digging that some of you did to grow this idea. Some of you really stepped outside of your comfort zones. If you haven't yet had an idea about a theme or issue you'd like to focus on in your memoir, you should try to think about that today. Next week, you're going to start your memoir process piece. You'll be working on this piece throughout the rest of the school year and adding to it little by little. Today, we're going to focus on how you would like your memoir to be structured. You already know that memoirs can be structured in different ways, more like a story or more like an essay. Sometimes they're even a collection of smaller stories lumped together. Today, you will look at some examples of final memoirs that students have written to get an idea of how you want your memoir to go. So, just to go over again what we've talked about previously, how memoirs can be structured. So really, they're either a narrative focus or an essay focus, and the way that you write your memoir is totally up to you. Um, so you've got some of you have chosen to practice generating ideas for both writing like a narrative and writing like an essay. So you have kind of tried both of them out, so you can make a decision which one you want to stick with. Um, so just to go over some of the different ways that they can be structured. So you can have more of a narrative focused memoir where you have an idea and you use a story to show that idea. Okay, so here we go. Have an idea, you mix that with your story, and then that's your memoir. Now, you can also have an essay focused idea, which is where you have an idea, which is really essentially the claim that you're making, and you're supporting it with evidence. Evidence could be examples of different experiences in your life. Now, you can also have another type of memoir, which is a little bit less common, but you can have a narrative, again, a narrative focus, but you can have an idea and then just use multiple smaller moment stories to show that idea. So, sort of like beads on a string. So, you know the idea that you want to stick with, the theme that you want to stick with, but then you have to think of multiple examples of events throughout your life that you would want to write about and connect together to then show that idea or that theme. So, that's another option for you as well. So, um, today, what you're going to do is take a look at some different student memoirs, and you're going to read a couple of those and take a look and focus on how they are structured and also what is the theme that the author wanted to focus on in their memoir. So, I just want to kind of give you an overview now of the ones that you'll be taking a look at. So, the first one that I've given you is from a student named Adam, and Adam's memoir is structured more like a story, so you'll notice more narrative elements such as plot, dialogue, description, characters, etc. His memoir is a small moment narrative about saying goodbye to his older brother who's going off to college. Okay, and as you're reading, if you do decide to choose this one, is try to identify what the author's overall theme, issue, lesson learned is throughout this experience that they chose to write about. Another memoir that I've given you to take a look at if you choose is Henry's, and his is actually structured more like an essay. So you'll notice more essay elements in his memoir, such as a claim and supporting evidence with a blending of some narrative elements as well. So if you're thinking that maybe you'd want to write more of an essay structured memoir, I would suggest looking at Henry's. So Henry's memoir gives different examples of times that he lived life to the fullest. And again, try to identify what the author Henry's overall theme, issue, or lesson learned is throughout this experience that he writes about. Okay, another memoir that you could choose to read today is Tyler's. So Tyler's is structured more like a story. Again, you'll notice more of the narrative elements such as plot, dialogue, description, characters. His small moment narrative is about making his grandma go on a roller coaster with him, even though he knows that she's very scared. And again, if you choose this one to read, you want to just try to think about what is the overall theme, issue, or lesson learned from Tyler's memoir. And lastly, Allie's memoir. Okay, so her memoir is structured more like a story. You'll notice more narrative elements in it. Her memoir does cover a little bit more um, of a serious topic. So hers is about a small moment where she's talking to her dad, but her dad is recovering um, from, it's not very clear, but he's recovering and he's bedridden. He's in a lot of pain and he's unable to speak to her. So this is her small moment about that conversation with, well, he is unable to speak back to her, but her having to see her dad and talk to him. And again, try to identify what the author's overall theme, issue, or lesson learned is throughout this experience that they write about. Okay, so in Google Classroom, you'll find the document where I've given you access to all four of the memoirs. You're going to just be picking two to read, and on the document, there's space for you to try to identify what the way that it's structured and also what the overall theme or lesson learned is for each of the two that you select. All right, off you go.